Questions 6 and 7 are both using the same graphic, so I'll do them at the same time here. The first question says, what is an estimate for x when f of x equals 0? So what we're wondering here is what values from my domain, here's my domain, what values from my domain can I plug in and get the output of the function to be 0? And if you look at the function, for example, in this range right here, the domain's all negative numbers. And in this range, from probably like about greater than 4 and then all the way up to about 3, it's producing values that are positive. And then there's a small section again where we're looking at some more negative outputs, and then it goes back to some positive outputs. So every single time we plug in a value of x, and I'm sorry this graphic it's very poor, it gives us a specific output. So for example, if I was to say, hey, here's the value 9, I'm asking what the function, right, what is f of 9? And I put it in, and I would basically follow this up until I hit the curve. And once I hit the curve, you can see the y value that corresponds with that point is 4. So I know for this function that when x is 9, it produces an output of 4. So this is just kind of basic review about how functions work and how I read the function input outputs from a graph, looking at multiple representations. So if I was to consider, which values in this domain produce outputs of 0, you can see right here, right? If I put in x is negative 4, if I put in x is 3, or if I put in that x is 7, every single one of those, f of negative 4 appears to be 0, f of 3 is very close to 0, and f of 7 is very close to 0. So I would have accepted any one of these numbers, right? Negative 4, 3, or 7. All of them are producing outputs of 0. The other question was, hey, what is f of 0? So if you plug in 0, what comes out of that function? We just answered the question, what values of x can go in and produce 0? And we said the x values that can go in and produce 0 were negative 4 or 3 or 7. Any one of those work. Well, what is f of 0? Well, let's take a look. Right, when I plug in from my domain that x is 0, I just follow this up, and it says, well, look right here. It's producing exactly the value 2. So for this function, and you can see its names right here, right? F of x. This curve represents this function f of x, and this is a very fancy function. It's not a line, and it's definitely not one of the exponential curves we've looked at this year, but it's a super cool function. And when you look at it, when I plug in the number 0, it gives me 2. So I would say that f of 0, right, f of 0 is 2. When my input is 0, the output is the number 2. I say 0, it says 2. 0, 2, 0, 2.